Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here for tonight's Conservation Commission on December 4th, 2024. For all those that wish to, please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Brian is here.
Here.
Amelia.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Bernardo.
Here.
And Wilson is
Here.
Joseph Lavalle is not in attendance this evening, or is not present at this time. Next up is review and approval of the last week's meeting minutes. Any changes or revisions?
No? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Aye.
Awesome. All right. First up is a presentation, or no, it is a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 0610760, and this is the Redgate Capital Partners 22 Whitten Ave, or Gibson Point. So if you wouldn't mind coming up. This is for their closeout for their 291 units. You have the floor.
Hi, good evening. My name is Katie Cruz. I'm with Hancock Associates, representing Redgate Partners this evening. I'm here to request a certificate of compliance for the project at 22 Whitten Ave. I think it's actually 1 Gibson Way now. The site work on the project is complete. Some of you joined me for a site walk a couple of weeks ago. Thank you for doing that. The site is all stabilized. There's a few minor cosmetic type things still going on, mostly electrical related, but the work is complete enough so that the site is stabilized and no longer needs erosion controls, and protects the adjacent wetland resource areas.
Okay. So yeah, I got your follow-up from our site visit, and thank you for giving us a timeline about the tree plantings that'll happen, where that drop-off is, and hopefully you can get a finished electrician in there sooner rather than later. Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I'm a little concerned with the amount of trash that I pointed out. That's if it was before us going there and the amount of trash in the wetlands, I'm a little concerned what's going to happen after, and I kind of brought that up. So it's a lot of bottles, and all of that trash is going to run into the wetlands. So to me, that's a big concern.
Yes, and I followed up with a developer on that concern, and they informed me that they will be placing trash receptacles along the boardwalk. One will be near the restaurant, so adjacent to that wetland area next to the park, and then the second one will be at the other end near the main entrance, and they have made an effort to clean up the trash that we observed when we were out there, and they'll continue to in the future.
During my visit, it was kind of disturbing to me that it was monoglass, and all of that with the wind is going to end up in, and even I pointed out the amount of trash that it was already in the wetlands. So if it's clean, that's great, but what I saw there, it was bad shape.
Yep, understood. And there's plan to keep that clean going forward, and we actually submitted our ongoing operation and maintenance plan, which is a written document
Yep.
that includes that maintenance.
It did. It definitely outlined a robust cleaning schedule for the perimeter of the property, and also working in conjunction with Gibson Park for the most part to the city of Revere to keep it all, that area clean. But thank you for providing that. Any questions from the audience at this time? Or any opposition from the audience at this time? Any opposition from our commissioners of issuing this certificate of compliance? Okay, seeing no opposition, I would call for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 22 Whitten Ave, 1 Gibson Way. I can't remember.
I'll make a motion for the certificate of compliance.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Next up is a presentation by the City of Revere, the Howard Stein Hudson and Weston and Sampson on the Route 1A roundabout project. This is a discussion on proposed improvements, phasing, and design alternatives.
Good evening, Julie DeMauro, Department of Planning and Community Development. Tonight, we're just going to be presenting the project and the single environmental impact report that was submitted on Monday to MEPA. This is just for the infrastructure improvements, so that would be the roundabout, and that would also be the Gibson Park access road. So this filing that was submitted is only for those two parts of the project. I am the project manager for that part of the project. I'm here tonight with Devin Hever from Weston and Sampson, and she's going to walk you through the presentation. And we're not looking for a vote tonight. We just wanted to present this material to you. It's pretty long, not the presentation, but the actual filing. So we kind of summed it up in this presentation here tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Could we go to the next slide, please? Also on the call, who is joining us via Zoom, is Peter from Howard Stein Hudson. So he'll be taking over a portion of the presentation to a bit of that description. Next slide. To reiterate what Julie said, we're not looking for any kind of vote. We're just looking to present this to you because this will be coming towards you hopefully around the new year. So we want to start getting the commission familiarized, continue the public involvement process, and catch you up on our MEPA submission thus far. Next slide, please. For folks that may not be quite as aware, this particular project is located on Point of Pines. If we could go one more slide, we can get a bit of a zoom in that shows kind of what existing conditions currently look like with the off-ramp located off Route 1A that then circles around and enters the Linway. Next slide, please. This particular project is broken down into two phases. We have phase 1 outlined in red that compose the roundabout component of the proposed project. We also have phase 2, which is the Gibson Park access component of the project, which is outlined in purple. I will then turn it over to Peter, and he's going to give you a rundown on the phasing, and then we have some plan sheets to show you.
Thanks, Devin. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So phase 1, as Devin mentioned, that is the roundabout component of this project. 100% of that project is within the state right-of-way, and we've been coordinating very closely with MassDOT because it's all on their property to get their appropriate permits and go through their design process and environmental process to make sure we're meeting their standards, as well as MEPA's and everyone else in the area. We previously submitted a combined set of plans, 75-100% set. We're considering that as 100% at this point, and we resubmitted that earlier this week. Phase 1 of this project, again, is just that roundabout infrastructure, and that's within the state right-of-way. And a secondary component of this project is critical to the access to the development at 22 Whitten, Gibson Point. There is a driveway which is going to be established as emergency access only for this phase of work. If you go on the second slide, or the next slide. The second phase, this is Gibson Park access that Devin mentioned. We're approaching a preliminary design. We have those plans at we're feeling confident to 75% design complete. We're waiting to file those officially until we get comments back on the content from phase 1 by MassDOT. However, The condition of those plans was submitted to MIPA in this filing, and your board will all have access to that. If you'd like to see those, they're available. We did additional traffic studies on top of the functional design report that was included as part of phase one, which is a standard MassDOT traffic operational report. This was a subsequent report that MassDOT requested that we run to determine what, if any, impacts would come from building the access to Gibson Park and tying it into the roundabout. We did a full analysis with new traffic counts, and our report showed there would be no negative impacts to traffic volumes or safety in this area by connecting the roundabout to Gibson Park. The alignment that you'll see soon in the next slides is the concept alternative that's preferred by all. I'm sorry, I'm still finishing up those last two bullets here, whoever's doing the slides for me. And there are a couple of concepts. Those concepts, we already know they're not viable, so we're not pursuing them any longer at this point, but we did go through an assessment of what was included in those concepts in terms of, planting areas and number of trees and different environmental factors, as well as geometry and safety from a traffic operational standpoint. The environmental requirements for this phase are significant, and one of the reasons why this phase is lagging is because we are anticipating there may be Article 97. It would be triggered by this action, and so in case that is what ends up, we're planning on that. We're counting on that being included, and if it ends up being the case, then this will take a lot longer to advertise this phase of work. However, the construction duration for this phase is significantly shorter than phase one. Phase one, we think it's about a 2-year construction period, and phase two, we think it's about a 2-month construction period. So there's a good chance that we could get this advertised and constructed in line with the phase one project. On the next slide. So this is the first portion of our 100% plans for the phase one roundabout, and you can see this is the southern limit of the project. This is where it ties into Route 1A southbound. Our ramp B is a new on-ramp that, if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see it extends from that roundabout, which that is in the center of Gibson Park, and then the 22 Witten development, and then Route 1A are the three kind of boundaries that this tight roundabout fits within. A lot of design went into this to meet these criteria. We had significant limitations for geometric limitations. We couldn't move it horizontally very far in any direction because we did not want to construct any roadway facilities within the limits of Gibson Park. We had vertical constraints because of the tight window to merge upward ramp B onto Route 1A southbound for limiting our ability to raise that ramp. However, the Gibson Park Drive that you see on the bottom part of this diagram is the underpass under Route 1A, and we also couldn't raise that elevation because we didn't want to reduce the clearance for any trucks that might be using that Gibson Park Drive. Many of you may know there's a subsequent large-scale project that MassDOT is undergoing with the General Edwards Bridge. We've been in coordination with that project group, and none of the work we're doing will be impacted by their project. We're going to make sure they can be concurrent. So that was another big consideration that led to this design option being selected. And if you go to the next slide, that ramp A that continues, it's essentially going to be the same, slightly different, but the same beginning point for ramp A, which is the Route 1A southbound off ramp. And if you go backward one slide, and you can just kind of envision going down that ramp, you'll see that roundabout is the new intersection that connects all these points and ties into the Linway. And if you go forward a slide, this is the intersection at the Linway. The area that's hatched out on the right there is the new fire station that is going to be built prior to, I know it's going to start construction. I believe it's scheduled to complete construction relatively quickly before, possibly before we get out there, definitely before we complete our work. We coordinated closely with DCR. You can see at the bottom of this page, it's tiny on this image, but there is a right-of-way line where it goes from DOT to DCR. A lot of this work is within DCR property. We coordinated with them very closely to make sure we're meeting all their requirements. And one of the big features on this intersection is that we eliminated that slip lane. You can see that where Gibson Park Drive comes down, it used to tie into the Linway with a slip lane, which was basically designed to retain speeds and allow vehicles to enter the Linway pretty quickly. We've tightened that up and made it a much safer entry and kind of controlled traffic here a little bit to make it a safer interaction for pedestrians. You can see on this plan too, there's a shared use path that goes along Gibson Park Drive and will provide access to Gibson Park, beneath the Route 1A, which is a nice new entry point for the city. And on the next slide. And that was the selected concept. That's what's been going forward. This is our preferred alternative for Gibson Park access. This is phase 2. And you can see here, it shows how that roundabout is going to ultimately connect to Gibson Park. And this is the one construction sheet that we have right now to show this. There's a lot of line work within Gibson Park here that is the current existing condition. You can see that the Gibson Park access goes through what looks like a tennis court. That tennis court is going to be relocated as part of that Gibson Park improvement project that's ongoing. We've been in close coordination with that project team as well. And we're doing a good job of staying out of each other's way while also helping to facilitate each other's work. This project will require an easement. If you see on the right-hand side of where this enters Gibson Point and then Gibson Park, it is going through private property. We've been in close contact with that developer, and there will be a permanent easement issued to the city of Revere so that will not be through private property, and the city will safely retain access into Gibson Park through this roundabout. And on the next slide, you'll start to see some of the other alternatives that we considered. So I kind of mentioned this. I don't want to be redundant here. Forgive me. It does create a lot of access. The benefits of the roundabout are it creates this access. It's minimal traffic impact. The shared use path is a nice new feature for multimodal accessibility. And we showed you where that fire station is. The response time for emergency vehicles to get to this side of Route 1A and to the residents on the other side of Route 1A is really critical. It reduces response time significantly to otherwise have to go into Lynn, pull a U-turn, and come back down the highway. This Revere Fire Department has a brand new fire station and a brand new fire truck with a long 50-foot ladder. We got their truck details to make sure we coordinated with them that their big fire truck could navigate through our roundabout and make that access safely. On the next slide. Phase 2. So this is, again, just continuing that access. I know that as part of the Gibson Park Improvement Project, access to Gibson Park is planned to be closed off on the southern limit, and this will be the way that people can access the park. So it's a pretty critical feature. Devin, if you want to go through the environmental impacts here.
Thanks so much, Peter. So the 3 wetland resource areas that would be impacted as part of this proposed project are Barrier Beach, which is the entirety of the Point of Pines Peninsula. Similarly, Coastal Dune, those 2 are going to overlap, so any impacts to one are going to have equal impacts to the other. And then a good chunk of the areas within the 100-year floodplain. In this area, the 100-year floodplain is located at elevation 10, which encompasses most of the peninsula. If we could go to the next slide, please. This is the FEMA flood map to give you a general idea. It has been tweaked on the plan set to match real-world contours, but this is the map that FEMA provides just to give you an idea. So everything in light blue would be within the 100-year floodplain. Next slide, if you'd please. This map, it's a bit cluttered, but it does outline where those wetland resource areas are located. Again, the entirety of the proposed project is both on Barrier Beach and Coastal Dune. Those 2 overlap, so you'll see that those impact numbers are the same. We are located outside of the riverfront area. Thank you so much. But again, we do anticipate impacts to the 100-year floodplain. Next slide, if you'd please. This is a summary of the environmental impacts. We have it broken down into phase 1, phase 2, and cumulative. I'll just kind of read through the total that we're expecting for the cumulative, but happy to go through any of the others that you may be interested in. So for land subject to coastal storm flowage, we are anticipating a total impact of 86,390 square feet. For Barrier Beach and Coastal Dune, we are looking at a cumulative 207,114 square feet of impact. One thing that we had heard during our MIPA EENF submission from some of the agencies, including CZM, is they want to see benefits to the coastal dune. So something that has been incorporated as part of this EIR submission is just over 44,000 square feet of dune plantings. And if we go to the next slide, you can see some of these areas that have been highlighted where we're seeing dune planting. So where it used to be just kind of sparse grass that was adjacent as part of the highway layout, we're now going to have a dune plantings. And if you go to the next slide, we've taken those planting lists from some of the CZM recommended lists so that we can have something that is representative of what the area would look like if we didn't have quite so much development, a little bit more of a natural dune situation to provide some nice stability to those exposed areas where it's a little sparse at the moment. And then we'll play ping pong and I'll turn it back to Peter so he can talk a bit about traffic considerations.
Thanks, Devin. So yeah, as I mentioned, the proposed roundabout is not going to increase traffic volumes on Route 1A. We've done a significant traffic analysis and we used a background growth rate, what was compounded annually to account for any developments in the area. We did coordinate with obviously within the city of Revere, but also with the city of Lynn to talk about future developments. And there was not a significant increase in traffic flow anticipated on Route 1A in result of this new construction, either phase 1 or phase 2. And in terms of traffic control during construction and the impact to traveling public during construction, there's going to be 9 total 8-hour work shifts, meaning those are going to be the shifts where people will have to be diverted via detour, but those are going to be overnight and non-sequential. So it'll be one night of a road closure. They'll typically start, and don't quote me on the times, but they'll start around 8 to 10 p.m., close the road for 8 hours to minimal impact, and try to do it offsetting, by at least a week or two in between, so that the traffic impact will be at a minimum impacted during construction. The next slide. So now I'm going to talk about some of the alternatives that we considered, but were not pursued further for construction. And the first one is the 2 offset 3-way intersections. And this was the most seriously considered alternative that we had out of either phase 1 or phase 2. You can see that it's very similar to the roundabout alternative. The main difference being that the roundabout alternative is a roundabout intersection, whereas this is 2 offset 3-way intersections. From a geometric standpoint, this project fit in that area, but one of the reasons that this is not a viable project is that the on-ramp, which I know it's tiny on this presentation, but if you envision the southbound on-ramp, ramp B in that previous roundabout slide, the grade required to climb that ramp is 8%, which is a steep grade. And in order to make an 8% grade acceptable for merging traffic, you need a certain length of your taper. Because this road starts from a stop condition and within that geometry, that space isn't there as it is in the roundabout. And the roundabout has sufficient room to make this work. The 2 offset 3-way intersection does not. And so this is not a viable alternative. We discussed this, we analyzed it, provided a report, discussed it with the city of Revere and the state. MassDOT agreed that this is not a reasonable alternative and therefore was eliminated from consideration. And on the next slide, I'll start to show some of the alternatives that we went through. I want to be clear on these. These are very preliminary concepts that we're showing for transparency. These were not fully vetted. These were not fully designed beyond the concept level because they were determined to be invalid pretty early on. This one you can see the big flaws here are that it retains the driveway access to 22 Whitten, which DOT does not allow. It includes sending traffic up the on-ramp and doing 2-way traffic on an off-ramp. And it includes taking more of Gibson Park for an on-ramp and adding a new northbound on-ramp on the other side and adding a new northbound off-ramp on the other side, which would be impacted ultimately by the General Edwards Bridge, which is going to go in that direction. If that highway shifts, that's the way it's going to shift. So this was not viable. And the next alternative, again, this includes a stop condition on the highway, and you can click to the next slide, which is very similar. Includes a stop condition on the highway with that off-ramp. We don't want to put a stop-controlled intersection in the middle of 1A. This was pretty quickly eliminated as a consideration. If you go to the next slide. It's very similar to the first one we showed you, although it shows Rice Ave extending beneath 1A. So all of the issues that exist with the concept A that we talked about are the same here. And it also includes significant excavation beneath Route 1A, which would be expensive and would be right at the water table in some of our excavation areas and introduce some new significant challenges from a design and cost perspective. On the next slide, this was pretty similar to the existing layout. And I know this is an alternative that was favored to be a hopeful alternative by a lot of people, that this could be the selected concept. We pursued this with our design analysis. We discussed it with Mascot. This was not an acceptable alternative for a few reasons. One, it does not provide emergency access into the building at that secondary entrance for Gibson Point. And secondly, the intersection that's required there, if you look at the off-ramp going on Route 1A southbound, is a very short off-ramp. And that is not enough stopping distance, might result in some queuing on the highway. And then thirdly, Mascot is not going to allow a condition where there is an intersection that ties into concentric on-ramp, off-ramp situation there. It causes a lot of challenges for merging speed if you're accelerating from that stop condition, similar to what I talked about in the two offset three-way intersections. That's a challenge for traffic traveling southbound here, and it's not a condition that allows for easy access. It would just create more congestion from that intersection. So this was also not a viable alternative, and we did not pursue the design beyond the concept level. On the next slide, I think Devin is going to go through some of the more design processes. Is that correct, Devin?
Yeah, I can take it from here. We're just about done. We've got about 2 slides left, but we just wanted to give.
Thanks for your patience.
Thanks, Peter. We just wanted to give folks an idea of where we are in the process. So to reiterate, we have already gone through the MEPA EENF process. We have then, on Monday, we submitted the EIR. That will go into the environmental monitor on December 11th. At that time, it will be available to be downloaded off the EEA website by anyone who so wishes. There is also a copy that has been brought to the Revere Public Library. So there's a full copy that's available there for anyone that may want to look at it. If we could go to the next slide, please. Just some more contact information for folks that may want to look at the materials or may want to submit any comments or ask any questions. We've got Julie's email address, as well as the website where this will be uploaded and posted December 11th when it goes live in the monitor. If you just search on the EEA website for Route 1A, it's the only thing that comes up in Revere, so it should be pretty easy to find, and we welcome and encourage all comments. And we'd love to turn it over for any questions that you folks or the public might have.
I would just make one small suggestion for the future. I know you said there's a copy at the Revere Public Library. I would highly recommend there being a copy for every single commissioner on this commission whenever you present. It was tough to see from here, and it was tough to follow, and
So there's a copy of the actual SEIR at the Revere Public Library, the full report. We can send you the link for the SEIR after today's meeting, so you have it. It's a pretty large file.
Sure.
But we can send you a link for that, and we will have this on our project website under the community development page for anybody to look at, but we can send this to you as well. I also want to note, because I want to just make sure because this is an environmental justice area, we have notified, I think at least 7 or 8 different communities in that environmental justice population. There was mailers that went out to abutters of the project living in 1,000 feet. So we're not required to do that. It's 300 feet from a project area, but we extended the limits. So residents living within that area received a notification of this filing. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that the residents of the Riverside and the Point of Pines are fully aware about this notification and about this filing. But we will send you the link that was sent to MIPA on Monday.
And
I'd
I'll
like to,
just,
I'd like to also have this posted on the Conservation Commission website so that folks can view it at their leisure. Same for our commissioners, same for anybody, just to make sure that everybody is aware. I know that, you're doing your due diligence, mailing to other folks, but it should be.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
A point of information?
Sure.
This is not a notice of intent tonight, is it?
No, this is just a
Okay, I believe
presentation.
one of our regulations is that they have to provide us with a copy of the plans before you come before us. I'm, quite frankly, and I have pretty good eyesight for my age, I couldn't make out any of this stuff. And I live down that area, I go over this area 10 times a day. So you are gonna have to give us a whole set of plans on that. I have 2 quick questions, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
This won't affect the jug handle at the south end of Riverside, this project? That still stays intact?
You mean for Mills Ave or for the first exit right off of Route 1A, right after you go over the General Edwards Bridge? When you talk about the jug
No,
handle.
I'm
south of
talking
that.
about,
South of
at
that.
the-
No, it
there's
will
a
not
jug
impact
handle
that jug
on
handle.
North Shore Road,
Yep.
going south past Riverside, all the Riverside area, that you can, when you go down North Shore Road.
Yeah.
If you're going north, there's a jug handle there.
It will not affect that jug handle.
Okay, and the second question, this project will eliminate the entrance to Red Gate as you're coming south over General Edwards Bridge, am I correct?
There's a temporary
Because right now,
entrance.
there's a right angle turn you have to make to get
Right,
in.
there's a temporary entrance there right now. That will be closed and the new entrance will go through Ramp B. And it will, there's a couple of roadways there, so it would come off, you would come off Ramp B and you would go into the Gibson Point development.
So access and egress would be
Correct.
around the.
Yep, that is required. I cannot speak to the actual line plan for that because we have to, because this is within the states right away, we have to submit a separate set of line plans for this project. Red Gate is required to set a permit with them to tie in to the state highway layout, but it will all interconnect once it is fully constructed.
And will this also connect to to the park as well, from what I could determine
Yes,
from
it
the
will.
plans?
So when you come off the roundabout, the way that the access road is going to be configured into the area and using an easement, it will allow for full access either into Gibson Point or into the park. And that access road will be the only way that, pretty much that is going to be the main access road into Gibson Park by vehicle. You will not be able to go through Mills Ave any longer. Right now, that's the only way you can get it to Gibson Park. You kind of go down Mills Ave, the jug handle, you loop around, you kind of skirt your way through that, I think it's a paper street, and you run into the parking lot. But now that will no longer, vehicle access will not be able to access the park that way. The parking area will be closed on that side. You will only be able to go through the Gibson Park access road.
Is it going to be a temporary, like a gated closure, or is it going to be a permanent closure with curbing and everything on that other side? Are you doing this
So
to
for
promote
the,
security?
I'm not quite sure how that's going to be because I think that they're going to need, I'm pretty sure that the fire department, or if there's any type of emergency, that they're going to need to
That's
be
fine,
able
I'll
to
leave that.
access that area. So it'll
Right.
probably be removable bollards. I mean, if there's like a water rescue going on, I think that all bets are off. They're gonna do whatever they can do to get that engine as close as they can to whoever is, you know, God forbid, having a water rescue emergency. So if it means that the quickest way to do that is to go through Mills Ave and go through the bollards, that's the way it's gonna be.
I would advise not curbing that off to have access over to that other point of the park, and not for any other reason than for emergency purposes.
Right, and so the only way that on the Mills Ave side, you'll be able to access the park if you're walking, or if you're biking, you'll be able to access the park that way.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I just want to finish up on something from before. So, two things. One is making sure the next time you come before us that you have the papers for all of us, just to make sure. The other thing is something that I think, and I'm piggybacking off something Commissioner LaValle said, I think if you had one slide that had points that we would recognize, like the fire station or things along there, where it would be kind of like if you're looking at a map and it shows like the Wendy's and the McDonald's, and you can be like, oh, I know where that is. You know, I think if you did that where the roundabout is, because it's tough to, I mean, I know the area pretty well. Even I was struggling a little bit. You know, he's lived here for what, 10,000 years, and you were looking at it and you didn't know exactly where it was. So if you could just have key points like fire station and other stuff, I think that would help, not just us, but I think that would help other people that are interested.
Yeah, I think the limit of the project is so large and wide, and it's not like a general square on the map. I mean, you got ramps, it's connecting on both sides of the highway, you have the fire station. So it is very difficult to kind of show the full limits of the project on one sheet, but we can definitely talk to our engineers at Howard Stein Hudson. We have been asked to kind of show a current, like an overlay draft plan where you see the current existing conditions, and then there's an overlay that shows you how the roundabout is actually going to fit within that old interchange. Yeah, and it is difficult because there's a lot of state highway lines there. We can't do anything about them now. I mean, that's the current condition. So, but we'll make note of it.
Maybe something as extensive as this, maybe we have to have something close up front, large and in charge, so we can actually all get a good understanding of what's happening. I think it's great we have this technology, but sometimes it just shoots us all in the foot. So I think the next time we actually make an official notice of intent, we'll just have a couple poster boards for folks to see, because we'll be on a couple sides. So
Okay.
I'd really appreciate that.
Yep, we'll
Thank
do
you.
our best.
Appreciate
Any
it.
other questions?
So I'm going to take a guess and say that the fire station is going to be done before this project starts. I would definitely coordinate with the fire department for their emergency vehicle access, temporary access, and their lanes that they need.
Yeah, so we are currently, the fire department is very much involved in a lot of the discussions we have right now. They have their, there is an emergency access plan currently in place, and until this roundabout is permitted and constructed. But there will be, like you said, there needs to be some additional emergency access, regardless, anywhere in the park at any time, or anywhere along Mills Ave at any time, because we all know if there is an emergency on the water, you need to get to that person quickly. And if you've ever been on the riverside, the currents can be very, very tough. If you don't know what you're doing, you can get in trouble fast.
Yeah, that's all important. The permanent condition's important. I'm talking more of temporary road closures, lanes, making sure they're wide enough, that kind of stuff. So while this is going on, the fire department's going to be active.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nothing
Thank
on
you.
the chat. There's nothing on the chat for the comments.
Okay. Thank you, Julian. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin and Peter, as well, for your presentation. Appreciate the information, and we'll be on the lookout for updated plans. Commissioners, we know where the MIPA plans are, so we can go take a look at that at the Revere Public Library if we need to, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you in January. Thank you.
Thank you.
February, yeah, February. Okay. Next up is a continuation notice of intent, DEP file number 0610818. This is 102 Summer Street, the removal of an in-ground pool, garage, and replacement of a retention wall. How you doing?
Good, how are you guys?
If you could.
Yep.
say-
Good evening, Ryan Rosine with Goddard Consultant, here representative for the applicant. So it's been a while since we were last before you, I think it was June. So a few things have changed since then, just minor things. Just real quick, I do want to just mention that we did re-notify and re-advertise this project, so all members of the commission can partake in this discussion. So if you remember, I'll give a quick overview of the project because I know there might be a new member or two. So the project is removing or demolishing an existing detached garage, shed, and landing, filling in an in-ground swimming pool, and removing the concrete decking around the pool. In addition to that, what we have to do is construct a new retaining wall along where the existing garage is, that's basically on the street, and then down the property line. And there's a little bit of backstory on this, I won't get into it, but basically, previous owners of the house next door and the previous owner of, the lot where the house is, there is basically encroachment from this lot onto the neighbor's property. So we're rectifying that by building this new wall, which is this dark gray line here on the property line. So the entire wall will be on the applicant's property, and the neighbors next door will get back 9 to 10 feet of driveway, basically. It's gonna be their driveway because that's their side right there. So the main thing that changed is the type of wall. It's still, well, those large block walls, it's just a different company that makes them. The contractor that we have prefers to use the Stone Strong system. They're basically the same, they're just slightly different variation. Also, if you remember, somewhere right around here, going all the way back was gonna be a smaller Versalock retaining wall, sort of the standard retaining wall. But for ease of, constructing it and for the look of it, we're continuing this larger wall all the way back. But somewhere along here, it's gonna step down gradually, and then somewhere along here, it's just gonna be about 1 block, high. So it's not gonna be, 3 or 4 feet all the way down the property line. In addition to that, we're putting a fence on top of the wall for safety reasons, especially along the street where there's about a 6 to 7 foot, 8 foot drop, if somebody was to fall off that. As well as down the entire property line for the neighbors to help them out. The drainage is greatly improved on the site. Obviously, basically the whole thing is impervious right now. We're removing, the buildings and all the concrete decking around the pool. This whole area is now gonna be lawn once the wall is built. And then on the other side of the wall, which is gonna basically extend the neighbor's driveway, is gonna be crushed concrete, so it's permeable. It still allows water to infiltrate, but it will still allow them to use this extended part of the driveway and not be impervious, which I know the commission had previously stated that they wouldn't want to see that. I guess I'll open up the questions now if you have any.
So, because of the height of the retaining wall, do you plan on putting any pressure relief along the wall, like on the bottom or anything like that?
Like
open-
weep-holes?
Yeah,
Yes, so on here you can see, it's hard to see, but on the plans there are, so there's a drain tile at the base of the wall at the very bottom. And then from those drain tiles going towards the front, 36 inches on center are weep holes that come out periodically down the entirety of the wall. So that will be, that's for the pressure release of the area behind it. So those are on the plan, that's.
so my other question would be, all of that water that's running down that hill is basically gonna get funneled into that new little hill into the yard. And how are you gonna mitigate any of the water that gets retained on that property?
You're talking about on the neighbor's property?
No,
basically?
on your property. I'm just curious how you're gonna mitigate that with being so close to the marsh area on the other side. Basically, that water's gonna flow off and flow right into the marsh.
So So you're saying, I'm just a little confused, I just wanted some clarification. So you're saying from this area here, coming down towards
Yep,
this way?
but also from the street, and that incline on the street coming up to the property is pretty steep coming off. You're gonna have a pretty tight runoff. A fence isn't gonna stop water just spilling over or whatever. How are you gonna
Right.
mitigate water on the property is what I'm asking.
Right, so, yeah, so there are the weep holes, and then, so basically the whole down the other side of the driveway, on this side of the wall on the property line for the neighbors, is permeable. In addition to that, this whole area in here is gonna be lawn, it's gonna be permeable. There shouldn't be, I mean, you'd have to have a massive rainstorm for water to spill over the wall and then come all the way, flow across this entire lawn, and then come into the marsh that's down over here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any drainage is any water is gonna come out of that wall, because it's gonna be like about 5 feet with the crushed stone behind you, so you're never gonna, we're gonna put the weep hole, but you will never saw water coming out of the holes ever, because it's gonna be, the block itself is 4 feet deep. That gets all filled in crushed stone.
Yep.
So like, you know what I mean, like no water. As far as the ends, that question for the street, like then maybe the sidewalk over there, we're gonna block the sidewalk so the runoff from the street, it's not gonna go inside the driveway or whatever. That's not.
Yeah, I'm picturing the way
No,
that
no,
you,
I
the way that you said it, there's a
understood, yeah.
driveway cut there, you're
Yeah.
coming off that steep incline, and that's just gonna funnel right into your
No,
property.
I mean,
I'm concerned.
They got the sidewalk, I mean, whatever goes now is keeping it going down the hill. It's not gonna divert towards the property, no, that's
I mean,
definitely not.
you have a house right there, I don't want your basement getting flooded, and you're coming back in front of us because you need to
No,
dig
that's what I'm
French
saying,
drains,
yeah,
so you're
no,
gonna be,
no,
are you gonna be
yeah.
proactive in any way, is
The
what I'm
water from
curious
the
about.
street, it's not gonna go in, you know what I mean, like, they'll run just straight down the way, it run. But as far as the, like I said, the other thing behind it, it's gonna be so much crushed stone, like I said, we're gonna put the weep hole regardless, but you're never gonna see water come, filter through, no way, it's impossible.
Well, the other thing too is you're creating another incline that's gonna encumber your neighbor, the person on the backside of the property with a pretty old fence back there. I'd be,
Yeah, we saw that, we looked at the wall too, we also looked at that wall, it's like a little small wall, like it's only probably like 2.5 feet tall.
okay.
So we look at that, we needed to look at that, and it's in really good shape. Actually, the bottom is like concrete, like really solid, and then they did like 2-3 rows of cinder block on the top.
Are you the applicant or the contractor?
Yeah,
Are you the applicant or the contractor?
contractor.
Okay, because I do disagree with your assessment of that wall. No one makes a CMU retaining wall that's vertical without weep holes. It's
No,
just,
it's there for many years, and then,
I understand, but right now it's only under compression load. It's just holding the deck. When you remove the deck and
but
backfill
we're
up
not
against
gonna
it.
move it completely full.
Yeah, so we're not moving right up to the fence, we're leaving like 2 to 3 feet of concrete along this wall.
I
that's not
understand, but if you were to hire an engineer to design a retaining wall for that area, they would not come back and say 3 or 4 rows of CMU topped with ancient concrete, and that's gonna hold the load. I think that it would be irresponsible to approve this plan and leave that wall in place. I read your email. I think that saying it'll hold for the time being or for an indefinite amount of time is not a responsible response.
Well, right now, so you're concerned with the pressure of all the dirt behind it?
You're turning a wall that's holding a compressive load, the deck, into a retaining wall.
No, what do you mean?
The wall that abuts the rear neighbor's property
Yeah,
is, you don't even know what it is. It could be footing down to frost, it could just be a layer of stone, you have no idea what it is. You have no idea if the CMU's filled, rebar reinforced, tied back at all.
no, the bottom
All
is
that-
concrete.
All
The
that
bottom of the
CMU
wall is concrete.
How deep is the concrete?
Well, I need to dig it down.
Okay.
But what
So
I'm
my point is that CMU wall was built and designed in 1975 to hold a compressive load of the deck. You're taking the deck down, you're leaving a strip of 2 or 3 feet of concrete, sure. But now you're changing the purpose of the wall. You're changing it to a retaining wall. So the load is going out now, not compressive load. It's not designed to take a retaining load, and it's not fair to put this on the neighbor or the next person who's gonna be living in the property, because I did note that it is for sale and contingent on an offer. So I don't know the exact plans and if this work is getting done or if it's being punted to the next owner. It's not fair to approve that wall and say it's gonna be fine. It needs to be redesigned and looked at.
I mean, if you guys want, it's really small, we can put some of the big blocks, and it's only like 15, 20 feet long, that's all I really get.
I understand, but
Yeah.
cutting the concrete and leaving that CMU wall in place is irresponsible.
You're basically destabilizing the property by taking out all of that concrete, to his point. So what you're doing is you're creating more permeable surfaces. Water is gonna be able to infiltrate into that space, thereby creating more pressure on what is not meant to be a retaining wall. So you're putting pressure from just the water, increased water surface area on that wall on the property. So that, not just the blocks that are coming down and the water pressure that can build up behind that, even with you putting weep holes in there, you're going to have a problem with that person's fence not having enough strength to hold back the tide, essentially. That's why I was asking about what are you going to do with water mitigation on the property, because there's going to be an elevated pressure on that wall behind you.
Well, like I said, if it's the case, we can do it with the big blocks, it doesn't, like, it's really 2 rows, it's not, it's only like 2.5 feet tall, that wall, that's all it is.
Right, but on the other side of that coin, you're putting undue pressure on that wall from all the things that you're doing on the property. So to Thomas's point, it would be irresponsible to approve if we're going to directly impact somebody else or another parcel of land over in that area, especially considering where it is.
Yeah, well, I think what Luigi is saying is, so if you guys are concerned with that existing wall, what we can do is remove that wall and place these same blocks and build a new wall right there.
Otherwise, you guys are gonna have new walls everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I
So it
mean?
would have the same weep holes, it would be basically built for that exact purpose of what you're concerned with.
Yeah, now this is the larger block, they're 4 feet wide.
Yeah,
4
I
feet,
think
yeah.
that's probably the only appropriate course.
Yeah, but that's the way you guys want, we can do that. I mean, like I said, it's only a short wall, it's really
Yeah,
not gonna take.
it's short and it's both lengthwise and height-wise,
It's 2
so.
rows, it's actually 2
Yeah.
rows, because the blocks are 18-inch tall, so 18 to 36, we're gonna bury half in the ground. Because the wall of here, right, is probably 32 inches high.
Yeah, we looked at it. It
Yeah.
gets a little higher in some areas, but it is the responsible thing to do because the home sells, the
Yeah,
next
that's
owner
a good
comes in,
concern.
thinks they have
We can do it, it's, like I said, it's, we got everything here, it's really, it's gonna take a half a day, that's all.
that and the pool. So are we gonna crack some holes in the pool so that there's actual drainage?
Yeah,
Or you-
so the
Rip
whole,
everything out.
yeah,
You're
everything,
ripping
so the
everything out?
bottom and the
Okay.
sides are all
You
being
would
ripped out.
advise
Yeah,
that you
all
were just
everything's
infilling
gonna
it,
get ripped
okay.
out.
Yeah, everything, all of it's being ripped out, it's not just being filled in, all the sides and the bottom is gonna be ripped out.
Okay.
And then it's gonna be
But that's
filled
not
in with
even,
gravel.
that's not even a guy.
One at a time, please.
Sorry.
No, it's all right, just one at a time. We want to get the information out.
That's not even a gun item, it's just like with the line, so.
Yeah.
We take all the side walls out and you got big,
Okay.
that's all it is.
All right.
And then you're going to be filling that in with clean fill?
Yeah.
With
to put-
gravel, yep, yeah.
With some crushed stone, some of the dirt we're gonna dig for the wall, I mean, it's all materials there, we're not gonna.
I'm just
we're not gonna-
considering how deep the pool is, I'm just concerned what you're,
The pool probably is about 3.5 feet tall, deep, that's all.
no, that pool is definitely deeper than that.
5 feet probably max,
The
I don't know
one
exactly.
end, it's like about 3 feet.
Right, but the other end is probably 6 to 8 feet. So
Right, yeah, so
even
it's
even
gonna
when
be-
you dig all that dirt out of there, because we're not really sure exactly how deep that pool is. That could be a 12-foot deep pool. Who knows? Someone wanted to be a master diver at some point, but we don't know.
No, it's all
So-
filled in already with some dirt, it's all like.
But yeah, you're gonna wanna take the whole entirety
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
yeah,
concrete
yeah.
out, so we're not sure how big of a hole
No.
you have. So we just wanna make sure we're prepared for that as well.
But it's not complete in the pool, it's not complete at all. That's a line, like it's metal.
So it's a metal liner with
It's not
a,
a gunite pool, gunite, that's the cement one you're talking about.
that's what I'm saying,
That's
is it,
metal, it's only metal all the way around, underneath it's already dirty now, it's all dirt.
I mean, you're gonna leave the liner in there? and not take the liner out?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, so you're going to, my point is you're going to excavate that area that's already seemingly filled with dirt, correct? Okay.
Partially, yes.
So what I'm curious is, you don't know how much it is, so we're kind of spitballing. I just want to make sure it's filled appropriately with the layers that
Yes.
are on the property, and retains its natural fill.
Right.
If you get my, so
Yeah.
the drainage happens appropriately in that.
Yes. Yeah.
So, exactly.
Or-
If you fill it all up with piece gravel, it's not going to really infiltrate effectively,
Right.
so we want to make sure it's filled up correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I just want to confirm, so you're agreeing to what they've asked for and what they're suggesting, I'll say to Thomas, since you had the most, is that what they're saying, you would approve it if they changed it to?
Yes, so is the intent of this notice of intent to complete the work now prior to the sale of the property? Or is this getting passed on to the next owner?
I believe the current owner is gonna be,
Yeah, we're
is
gonna do it.
is responsible for the work.
Okay.
Even if the property changes hands in the middle of it, the current owner is the one responsible, and he's gonna fulfill that, he's gonna see it through to the end. I mean, this is, Luigi's contractor, he's gonna do it also.
So to answer your question, yes.
Yes.
If there's a new
Yes.
retaining wall put in the other abutters property.
And we would definitely want to make sure that those plans are updated.
Yeah,
That
we
we
can-
have on
yes.
file, so
Yes,
to
we
make sure you
can-
update the plans of what you're going to do as
Yep,
well.
I can get those to you probably early next week. I'll email the engineer tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll get those updated. He can probably, maybe even get them to me tomorrow, so.
Sounds good.
So I would just ask the chair, are we able to approve with the caveat that they're going to make those changes?
Yes, I would say. I don't want to continue this any further. If commissioners feel comfortable receiving plans on,
Well, I guess
May-
then that leads to my question on who, so the current owner is gonna complete this work, but if we go out for a certificate of compliance in January, February, and the new owner is now there, old owner's gone, washed his hands of it, and there is no retaining wall or there is work that's incomplete, who is responsible for that? Who's gonna do the
the
work?
person whose name's on the permit. So the person that's filing this permit is going to be responsible for completing that work or getting the certificate of compliance.
And that's fine even if the property changes hands?
I don't know.
Yeah, and real quick, so like, this property tried to be sold a couple of years ago or something, and the property wasn't able to be sold because of the property line issue. So this basically, the wall has to be completed before I think the sale will finally go through.
Yeah, they can't sell the property because they're encroaching on the neighbor's
On the neighbor's
property.
property.
That-
So this is gonna be done, certificate of compliance, before the sale goes through?
Yeah,
That was
it's gotta be
my
all
original
completed
question.
Before you
Okay.
sign any paper, you gotta be all complete, if not, cannot happen.
Yeah, as a real estate agent, I can tell you that they'll write into the contract that it has to be done beforehand, so I understand. And the property is a nightmare, so I have a feeling the
It
person,
was already tried to sell it, couldn't sell it.
oh,
was
yeah.
already due. That's
I wouldn't advise, as an agent, I wouldn't advise any client to purchase that property without that being completely resolved. So if they're saying that that's part of the contract, I would absolutely probably guarantee no one in their right mind would agree to buy it without that being settled. So just throwing that out there to the rest of the commission.
All right. Works for me.
Good. Joe? Yes, sir.
Are there any other agencies in the city that you received a permit from, building department, et cetera?
We will have to go to the building department. We have not done that yet.
Or you haven't?
No. Luigi, have you submitted anything to the building department yet?
No, we
No.
wanted to wait for this first,
Because-
because I know we're not gonna get approved if, because this is like in the going, you know what I mean? So after tonight, I can submit the thing, all the structural plan to the building department, and then we get the permit, and then we gotta get a demolition permit for that garage, so yeah, if we don't get it, you guys, okay, yes, and we're not gonna go any further.
Yeah, I believe the building inspector had indicated to me that we would need to get an order of conditions from you before he signed off on a demo permit. In addition, we would need a building permit for the wall that's taller than 4 feet.
I see why they wanted to have you in front of us first, because you're going to have to do demolition in
Right.
that area. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But I'm still curious about how the property stuff will go. But any other questions from the commissioners about this?
I would just state again, feel confident of what they're saying. If they agree to the conditions that we've set forth, I would be shocked anyone agreeing to buy that property as is without that stipulation. So if you have the ability to submit that as well with the contract showing that stipulation, would be great. Not making that any kind of a requirement, but that would be nice if you could add that as well.
We can look into that.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up to members of the audience if they have any comments, questions, or concerns about this project.
Hello, I'm Jamie Reinhagen. I live at 96 Summer Street. Our property is the one it's been encroached on. We have met with a contractor, and we had some concerns initially about the wall and the type of wall, but it seems like that's been resolved. They also, originally, at the first plan, they were gonna build the wall on our property, which we did not want. We don't want any part of this wall. We want our full property back. So they have moved it all to the property. The retaining wall will be completely on their property. It will be fenced appropriately for safety hazards. Our side is being backfilled. I mean, we would prefer like pavement so it would look the same, but I understand that that's not an option, but they are willing to do it with crushed concrete because it will extend our driveway 10 feet, which we certainly, as a condo association, would appreciate, since none of us, when we moved in, knew that this was even an issue, that that it was on the property line, it was where it was. There's also a concern that we had. It looks like the electricity for that pool and garage is tied to our property still. There is a post outside of our property that goes underneath the driveway and attaches to the garage, because it all used to be one property. So that needs to be taken care of. It needs to be disconnected from our house. And
So you don't have, I'm assuming you have a separate meter to get an electric bill
don't.
to your
It's-
house. How does that, so it's one,
we have 3 meters, but the basement, it looks like it's tied into the basement meter, which is the owner's condo, has all their condo and the basement all into that 1 meter. We don't have
that's
a
interesting.
separate meter, right? But the electricity tied into that garage is running from our house. I mean, it's not actually on at this point, but it has been for several years.
Yeah, I would be concerned about how many kilowatt hours they're using out there. Anyways,
So that needs to be disconnected and
that I will
appropriately.
definitely suggest you get in touch with National Grid and get that taken care of as soon as possible.
Yep. So, and that's something that Ryan had indicated that they would do.
Excellent.
Yeah, we gotta replace it, so we're gonna disconnect
Okay.
Yep.
that.
Anything else?
I also have some concerns like you did about the completion of this project before the sale. I don't really think a sale should go through. I was shocked it was even put back on the market, because this has been ongoing for a year now, that we've been in front of this committee several times before, and I was surprised that it was even listed again before this work was even approved or taken care of. So I do have some concerns regarding that.
Not something that I can help you with.
Okay.
But the person that signs off on this permit or that applies for this permit is responsible for doing the work.
Okay,
That I can assure you.
okay,
All of the other legalese
Yeah.
involved with this, I am not privy. But they are definitely on the hook to do that.
Okay.
So, at the very least.
okay.
Any other questions?
Nope, that's all I have.
Excellent. Any other questions from anybody else in the audience? Excellent. Hearing none, if none of the other commissioners have any concerns, questions, or comments, I'm going to close the hearing. Hearing none. Okay, now here we go. With the addition of this new wall in the back and making sure that you have those plans provided to us no later than Monday next week, I would be confident in approving this notice of intent. Now, I would call for a second or a motion to approve this notice of intent.
I'll make a motion to approve the motion, say that one more time.
Notice of intent.
Notice of intent, sorry, I blanked for a second.
Approved in order of conditions.
This is
Yeah, that's why I was wondering
notice
what
of
it,
intent.
it's order of conditions, right?
You're asking for an order of conditions, yeah, so you make a motion to.
This is their, to close out their notice of intent here. So,
So I'll make a motion for the notice of intent,
To approve this notice of
to
intent.
approve this notion. Man, this is one of
With
those
the
days, huh?
orders of conditions that we set upon
Yeah, with
it.
with all of the conditions that we set up and attached to that.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. So we'll get this filed, or you can file this now that we've approved it. And we will be sending out some orders of conditions for this as well. And I'm sure the DEP is going to review, and they will have their orders of conditions that they would like to impose upon this property as well. I wish you the best of luck. It's not going to be an easy process, but thank you for your time. All right, next up is a request for determination of applicability. This is for the Department of Conservation and Recreation, Winthrop Parkway Streetlight Maintenance Project.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tom Keogh, and I'm an environmental scientist for AECom, here tonight on behalf of DCR. The figure I've chosen from the RDA is the erosion control plan. I believe this one just told the story well, something nice and easy to refer to. As you can see on the plan here, the red line is the segment of the electrical conduit that will be replaced.
If you could bring the mic down just a little bit so we can, and bring it over to you. There you go. Thank you.
Does this sound fine? All right, it's just, okay, it's just echoing in my ear when I talk into it. I didn't realize it.
No, it's all right. I just want
okay.
to make sure everybody can hear you at home.
All right. So as you can see, I'll start again. We have the red line here depicts the length of the subsurface utility that is to be replaced. The reason behind this is that there are several street lights out along Winthrop Parkway, and it's creating a hazard for driving at nighttime. They are all in a row, so it's creating a large dark area on there. The work will occur in the sidewalk. It won't expand into the street. It's going to be a very narrow trench and a shallow trench to put in. It's probably going to take about a day to do. That's given that you have a nice, easy mobilization. You get there first thing in the morning, and you work all day. Because it's a relatively simple project in that regard. As you can see on the figure, there's really nowhere to stockpile material or stage equipment or anything like that. So they will be in and out in a day if they, the project doesn't kick off till noon and on a Monday and they have to come back on a Tuesday. Everything's gonna be moved to a DCR property down the street. There's gonna be nothing stored out there. They're only gonna excavate the amount of trench that they think they can get done in a single day.
To put in EMT, are you talking, I'm curious where it's going to start. It's kind of, is it just the red line there?
Just that red line there.
Okay, sorry.
It's a small little section.
Gotcha.
They found out that that's the faulty part of the line, so they're going to replace it.
Gotcha.
It is immediately adjacent to that seawall, so there's no way, any material, when they excavate the trench, they're gonna bring stuff up and stockpile it in one area, because it's going right back in the trench at the end of the day, except for the bituminous debris. That's gonna be live loaded into a truck, transported off-site for our disposal. No bituminous is going to be going back in the hole. So it'll be the material that's excavated from the hole, and then clean sand will go in to fill up any gaps from that material. Like I said, the work's all gonna take place in about a day. There'll be nothing stockpiled overnight. The only threat of erosion has a very simple solution to it. Just don't work in the rain. And where a project's only gonna take one day, they don't plan to work in the rain. But just in case, we are gonna put in the silt sacks in the catch basins that are immediately adjacent. We have what's probably a 5.5 or 6 foot high wall separating the site from the ocean. So there's no threat of sediment getting down into the ocean. And then they have some repairs to do at the bases of the streetlights themselves.
Which you won't have to excavate or do much with that?
No, we won't. It's in the buffer zone. And it is partially within land subject to coastal storm flowage, but because of the seawall, it's designated it at an area with reduced threat of flooding. So,
So instead of excavating and putting it on the street, you can't have like a dump truck or something like that you can load it into that can actually drive away, especially seeing as how you're gonna be taking
oh, yeah,
out
so
the-
there'll be live loading if they have to stop, put anything there, because the sidewalk's only this big. They don't want to go out into the street. That just creates a whole other
Mess.
list of hazards you just don't want to deal with.
Yeah,
So they're looking to live load, and keep traffic moving throughout the process. And like I said, it's a day for the excavation and the backfill. Then they'll be out doing the street light repairs there, the lamp post repairs. And I'm not sure, that could be, they might get 2 done in a day or 1 a day.
yeah, it is pretty dark going through that little stretch over there. I agree. Any questions from the
Yeah,
commission?
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, hi.
Yes, sir.
Will this block either one of the travel lanes or car access?
It will partially block one, but there'll be traffic that'll be allowed to pass.
I assume there'll be a police detail there.
There will, yes.
Yeah, because that's kind of a bad,
It's a very busy.
Bad turn there,
It's a very
too.
busy roadway.
Yeah.
You've got the seawall coming up too, that will reduce your visibility as you're trying to take a turn, so there will be adequate traffic control.
thank you.
I live one street over from that, so.
Oh, you do?
I use that road all the time, get to Winthrop, and, it needs it badly. I'm wondering, how soon will that be completed?
The very day they can.
Okay,
Right, if it's not raining, the day they're authorized to go work, they're going out to work.
okay, great. Because I'll drive down there and I'll be like, just randomly look at it and you're just thinking in your head like, hey, this is really dark here. Why is that? So it's good to have this meeting and know why. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just to make sure it doesn't get done on a Thursday or Friday, just in case you run into problems. So that way, for the erosion control, so maybe like a Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, just in case you run into problems, so I don't want to, doesn't extend until the weekend, and probably people won't be on the weekend,
If-
yeah.
If there are issues when they come up and they start digging, they can immediately just backfill that trench right away and compact and be fine with it and just walk away. It will not interfere with traffic on the roadway or anything like that. It's only gonna be about that wide.
Okay,
So they'll be able to leave the silt sacks in for quite, a length of
Okay.
time before they have to take those out and clean them.
okay, that's fair, thank you.
Any other questions?
Are you requesting a negative determination? of
Yes, we are.
Okay. Any questions from the audience about this? Nope. I mean, you are excavating, but because of the retaining wall, it is not going to impact, and you'll be live loading, so you won't really have dirt on the ground, and you'll have
Correct.
plenty of erosion controls. I would be fairly comfortable calling for a negative determination of applicability to the Wetlands Protection Act. So I would call for a motion for that.
I'll make a negative motion of negative.
Second,
There we go.
Yeah. All in favor of a negative determination?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right. Next up is a notice of intent, DEP file number 0610831. This is 12 Pearl Ave, proposed permeable retaining wall around the yard to protect their home, basements, and surrounding areas. We were out here previously for a notice of violation, which turned into this. They are not here, or do we have another representative?
They
here?
are here, they're on Zoom,
Okay,
so I'm gonna unmute them.
okay.
Okay. Pueden hablar.
Buenas noches. Nosotros es un idioma bastante técnico y necesitamos, por favor, que nos ayuden con la traducción.
Yeah. All right.
So we don't really have an effective way to communicate with them at this time. Wow, can we turn that off? So what I'm going to recommend is that we have them come in and make a small presentation about this. I would feel more comfortable if they were here to actually answer questions.
Excuse me, I'm very sorry to interrupt. Are they on your computer?
Yeah, so with your TV.
¿Empezamos?
Sí.
You've been able to like project.
Okay.
But is the volume on your computer?
The microphone, he's right.
If you mute your computer, if you unmute them, but you mute your computer,
No, it's because of this microphone, but you're right. You have a right point. Yeah, it's because of that. Yeah.
¿Ustedes pueden?
No.
Buenas noches. Nuestro proyecto es en la casa, en nuestra casa. Está ubicada en la 12 de la Pearl, en Rivier. La propiedad está ocupada por una casa unifamiliar, patio, un camino de entradas y áreas ajardinadas. Todo el proyecto está ubicado dentro del patio. Incluye la construcción de un muro aproximadamente de 1.6 pies de alto, de pedazos de piedras apiladas con tierra, y vamos a dejar unos espacios para que el agua pueda salir. La idea es que nuestro basement, cuando la marea sube, se nos inunda. Entonces también tenemos proyectado construir un...
Vamos a tener que pausar porque ustedes tenían que venir en persona porque la interpretación va a ser difícil como comunicar. Ustedes pueden venir en febrero a presentarse en persona.
Pero me dijiste la opción de Zoom también, entonces por eso, porque es que nosotros estábamos trabajando.
Okay.
O sea que tenemos que esperar hasta febrero.
I think it's working now. I don't hear any feedback.
I just want to know what she's saying.
Yeah.
I'm really not comfortable. I don't mean to be
Okay.
rude about it.
I understand that.
Lorena, are you able to ask them if they could come in with someone that could translate?
Is there a plan?
They do have a plan.
Yeah.
I remember we went to the site.
We did, and I would just feel comfortable if they were here representing themselves and not have to go through this.
Where is this plan?
We all had it emailed to us.
So this is the plan on the screen. They've revised their plan to include the swale that they're proposing in the back of the yard. And they changed the brick in the front to
Permeable pavers.
show, yeah, to permeable pavers.
And then the yellow, I can't remember that, I believe that is going to be open. That is going to be grass or some sort of planting bed, and the wall that's in the back, Joe, is all going to be permeable retaining wall. Not really sure how they're going to do that, but that's what some of my questions would be. And then in the back, they'll have some sort of French drain for water retention on the property. Sorry, let me make sure I open up the hearing for this. Anyways, I'm not really sure how we want to proceed with this. Do other commissioners feel comfortable with this format, or would you rather have them in front of us to understand what is happening? I know that we're not all bilingual and able to understand what they're saying, and I want to be considerate to those that are not.
I would just say that, obviously I'm having trouble with the audio issues, number one, but then I'm not bilingual, so that's part of the issue as well. So I think if they did come before us, did have somebody that was able to translate on their behalf, whether it's through the city of Revere or through themselves, I think that would be beneficial for them, and that way we'd be able to properly communicate questions that we have. And then also if they had, you know, handouts for us and being able to answer those questions in real time, it would be beneficial for everybody. That would be my opinion.
Yep. Any other thoughts from any of the other commissioners?
I got the gist of it, but I can't really see what their plan entails, and I wasn't present at the site visit, so.
Okay.
Don't forget that when they come before us with a notice of intent, there's a plan included.
Correct.
That's what we have to be looking at, and when once we approve that plan, they can't alter that plan unless they come before us again. And like I said, right now, I don't know what I'm looking at that I could approve if I wanted to.
They have submitted their plans. They have submitted their plans, and they've submitted their revised plans that I've sent to you all to look at. We do have bilingual speakers present. I personally don't know the the answers either, so I don't feel comfortable translating like in real time. Like it would be helpful to speak with them in person and understand what their proposed changes are. Maybe that's something that maybe Wilson or Bernardo can do at the next meeting, is kind of help support with the interpretation and having a dialogue with them before the meeting so that you're prepared.
Thanks, Lorena. Yes, I can do it. Yeah,
Okay.
we can facilitate that.
Thank you.
That would be great. And so what we'll do is we will continue this until the February meeting, and then we can get a better understanding of what we're up against here at this point. So yes, so you have until February to come before us, and we will get a notification out to you about that. So we'll continue this one here. So next up is a notice of intent, DEP file number 0610832. This is 193 Rice Ave. This is a demolition of an existing deck and construction of an addition. Awesome. Thank you, Cody. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. If you want to hand that to them, I do. Oh, that's good. If you could turn the mic on, please. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Michel Ashkar. I'm with Ashkar Engineering and Surveying, and I'm representing my client, Mr. Cody Gardner. He's in the process, him and his wife, to propose an addition on their existing dwelling.
Just going to open the hearing first, sorry. Apologize about that, Michelle.
Okay.
Please continue.
Yeah, proposing an addition on their existing dwelling. They're expecting their twins coming very soon in January. And the purpose of the addition is just becoming a nursery. It's a one-story addition next to the existing dwelling, attached to the existing dwelling. And straightforward, the way I did it, you know, we protected the area around with silt fence and wattles. The property falls within the floodplain in zone AE. That's 10 feet elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And the first floor is at an elevation 12.1 feet, which is 2.1 foot above the flood baseline. In regard to your suggestion, you know, the addition will be elevated on pier and my colleague George will address it better because he is the one who, according to your suggestion, you know, submitting a plan, conceptual foundation plan. So it will be on pier, you know, flush to the ground, and then the columns coming up elevated so the first floor will be above the flood baseline.
Okay.
Basically, that's it. And you mentioned the last time, that definitely it needs an infiltration system. It's such a small addition, 566. Can we ask the board to be waived? Because there is not much room in the back to propose an infiltration system, or we can do it, in like a box crushed stone, 2 feet deep, if that's acceptable by the board, that accumulate at least 1 inch of runoff. That's according to state regulations.
Well, it's not on your plans at this time, so. Anyhow. So I'm going to open it up to questions for the commissioners first. If you have any questions about the plan and what Cody is applying for in this notice of intent. Did you change the materials of the pilings that you're going to be using to wood in that area?
My colleague George is on Zoom.
Sure. If you wouldn't mind.
George Atala.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. This is George Atala. I'm the engineer who designed the foundation for the addition. So we designed a reinforced concrete pier with a big footing. I believe that was the request by the commission, I believe. So it can be either a timber footing, deep footing, or a shallow reinforced concrete Bigfoot footing.
So we were on site, George. What was expressed to us was that you would have sonotubes with stainless steel pilings. And we had some concern with that. And so you're saying that it's going to be a pier? Or just because of the way that I'm just confused why you're calling it a pier. Is it because it's a one floor or one elevated pilings? I'm just trying to make sense of it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a 12-inch diameter sonotube. I mean, if you use sonotube reinforced with a big footing at the bottom.
Okay, I'm just trying to make heads or tails of what you guys are saying right now.
Okay.
So what I was concerned about is that you're creating a canopy with this first floor and basically eliminating the direct line into the ground, and I was just curious if you're going to design any type of infiltration system was the question that I asked on site. And I'd be curious to know where that might be on the plans, or if you decided to omit that.
This question to me, sorry,
Yes,
or
to you, George.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't present during that meeting, but you mentioned the infiltration system design?
So what I'm asking is, because you're creating a canopy by putting on a first floor addition, you're adding more roofing, how do you intend to manage your stormwater runoff? Are you putting gutters that go down into the ground? You're eliminating opportunity for water to infiltrate on the property. Right now, as you have it, it is a deck that as soon as it hits the deck, it runs off and goes right into the ground. The way you have it now, you're going to have an impermeable surface covering like a canopy over your property. So how would you be mitigating the stuff that's never going to see water ever again from the sky?
Yeah, typically, if I'm doing the design for the infiltration system, I would design infiltration system underground, like a sort of a Caltech system, and then connect the gutters to it, and the volume of the system would be 1 inch rain. That's what I would do for the addition.
Correct. So I would want to see the calculation for the surface area that you're creating that's going to be impermeable, and how much 1 inch rain runoff is going to need to be collected on the property. That's what I'm looking for, and that is not on the plans. Correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
So
that's my first concern.
We'll add it.
Does anybody else have any? Go ahead.
So maybe to clarify, because it says there, proposed infiltration system.
That's where the area is going to be,
Oh, okay,
you know.
okay. I just, okay.
Yeah, I mean, something, it doesn't need to be a Caltech concrete chamber or anything like that. It can just be an ADS pipe with holes in it surrounded by Marafi paper. It should be pretty simple.
Yeah,
To infiltrate a 1 inch storm.
1
is
inch
not-
storm.
Not the end of the world.
Or the way, I mean, I don't want to step on my friend George's toes here.
We're not looking for something complex, that's what I'm saying. And
Nothing
that's what-
complex.
That's what we're getting at here.
Could be,
It's-
could be like a box in the ground, you know, filled
could
with
be a-
crushed stone.
It could be a
ivy.
dry well, you know,
Yeah.
just a concrete structure with an open bottom. It's a
Yeah,
bunch of different
open bottom.
options and they're all pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a shake concrete.
You could also put a 55-gallon drum in the ground if it has enough volume to retain a 1 inch rain.
1 inch rain.
Off of that. So
Okay.
I would be more comfortable approving this notice of intent if we had some more of a definitive plan about how you're going to mitigate that.
We'll submit the plan by next week. If, I mean, we can work on that, George, over the weekend.
Yes.
Okay.
So my question to the other commissioners, do we want to approve this notice of intent without those on the plans?
So are we able to do it with conditions?
I would want to have a complete plan
Okay.
before we approve something and put it on the books like that. So,
Name the date and I will submit the plan for you.
I want to ask, so how do other commissioners feel about doing a tentative approval, or would we rather have official plans on the books? And I don't want to hold you up with any of this. I know what you've got coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I think the intent is they're gonna do the right thing. And
Okay.
No, we're
I
not.
just, I want to make sure that you are comfortable approving this notice of intent, considering the situation that is surrounding it. Thank you for the backstory. But I just want to make sure that everyone else is comfortable approving these with some sort of stormwater management. Very simple,
Very simple.
adding it into it. I would be curious, other commissioners' thoughts on that.
I would believe these honest-looking guys would do what they say they're gonna do.
Okay.
And it'd be one thing, I think, if the commission was asking you to rewrite the entire plan, and it's like $100,000 difference, and I think that, but this being something that is simple, and I think it makes a lot of sense from having having that be your home, you'd probably wanna do it correctly than have any chance of there being issues. So, I don't think it would make sense for you to not do it, basically.
We will contain the water. I mean, it's, that's why I computed that area, you know, it's 2 feet depth of crushed stone, 2-inch crushed stone. And the downspout, you know, will lead into it and it will be, you know, according to industry standard, 40% out of the volume, you know, will be retained within that, it's like square shape, a hole 2 feet deep.
So I know we have to, we're gonna end up putting this to a motion and then to a vote to all commissioners.
No, I just want to make sure that we're clear. It's kind of not complete, but we'll get that. And we'll have that by Monday next week.
By Monday, George, okay?
You're getting filmed, so trust me. No, kidding.
Well, he's on a beach, you can
By
see, he's got the
Look at him,
ocean.
I'm
and-
jealous, look at that.
Can we get
Look
it
at
done
that,
by
that'd be
Monday?
great right now.
I wish.
So yes, so if there aren't any other comments, questions, or concerns from any of the audience or the commissioners, I'm going to close the hearing out. Last call. Excellent. All right. So at this time, I would like to put forth a motion or ask for a motion to approve this notice of intent.
I would make a motion to approve this notice of intent.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
I'll be on the lookout for
I'll send
Monday
it
for
to
those
the-
plans and send it to me. Send it,
to
to
you.
actually send it to the Revere Conservation
Revere,
Commission,
okay.
the general email, and that'll get to us.
Okay.
And we'll get this filed for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, George. Thank
My
you,
future
Cody.
kids, thank you too.
Thank you, Cody. Next up is a request for determination of applicability, Revere Mass 2 owner LLC. This is for the 3 Furlong Drive proposed clearance and cleanup of property. And this is with the fence. You'll be putting up a fence at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah, I'll take. Oh, he's good. So I had an opportunity to walk this property down. It's basically an empty lot with a culvert and has a rusted shut valve on it. Chris, I'll let you introduce and take it away.
Hello, Commission. My name is Chris Roller, Saracen Properties, representing the applicant, Revere MA 2 owner, LLC. The property in discussion today is 3 Furlong Drive, more commonly known as, the FedEx facility, just north of our Trident Logistics Center development. We are here today requesting a negative determination for our RDA that we filed to do vegetation clearance and construction of an 8-foot fence to better secure this wooded portion of the site. So if you're driving down Furlong Drive and you're going towards Target, it's on that eastern end of the property there. The FedEx building is on your to the west, on your left, and then this is kind of that wooded portion with some flagged wetlands. The wetlands, as they stand today, are quite disturbed. So we're hoping to install a fence to secure the site. The fence will be constructed outside of the wetlands, but within the buffer zone. And the fence will tie in on the western edge to the existing fence we have securing the FedEx parking lot, and then to the south to our Trident Logistics Center development. So, fairly disturbed area, minimal impacts, and the fence and the vegetation clearance will help prevent future disturbance of this area.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
Do you know what the status of the homeless encampment is there? Is it active?
The homeless encampment is active, yes, and we're working to remediate and solve that problem in the right way.
You're not just gonna fence them in?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Okay. Seeing how this is, it is within the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, and it also has a few wetlands, isolated wetlands in it, just because the land has just been unattended for so long. And that rusted shut valve on the culvert, it definitely shows signs of no use, let's just put it that way. And seeing as how you will just be putting up a fence, you're not really disturbing anything. My only thing is just being sensitive to the people that have clearly been occupying that space for a very long time. That would be my only request in this. But seeing that this will have a very low impact, I would call for a motion for a negative determination of applicability.
I'll make a motion for a negative determination of applicability.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
You as well. Excellent. Next up is Certificate of Compliance, DEP file number 0610805 for the McClellan Highway Development Company, LLC, 130 Washburn Ave. Is there a representative here for that? Are they on the? There we go.
Can you all hear me?
Speak again. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a civil engineer with Beals and Thomas, Inc., here on behalf of the applicant, to request the certificate of compliance for the, Washburn berm, flood resiliency berm located, adjacent to the 130 Washburn Ave property. We submitted our request for a certificate of compliance, along with a stamped as-built plan. I believe last Tuesday, a site walk was conducted to review the completed, project. I don't know if you'd like me to share any of that information or any updates, the agent might be able to provide.
Please, I would appreciate that.
Do you have any pictures of?
Yes. I can do a screen share if that's all right. I can pull up some photos of the site. Can everybody see the plan up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the as-built plan of the berm. And I have some photos that shows the completed berm. So this is looking south, at the end of Washburn Ave. And then this is the resiliency berm wall, itself. I got a few different photos showing the different views. This is facing east towards the, MBTA, blue line right of way, which is at that easterly end of the wall. And this is another photo kind of showing where the berm wall kind of wraps into the existing adjacent grade by the T. This is just a few shots of the adjacent T right of way. And then this is kind of looking back west towards the Suffolk Downs site here in the background, and then the wetlands to the side here. And this is the backyard of the 130 Washburn residence. So everything is grown in and established. And then all of the various components of the wall and the associated drainage outfall have been completed as well. There's a manhole structure here and then a head wall here that daylights to the wetlands. So is there any specific questions that the commission has?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. I was out there, I've been out there a couple times now, but I've seen that retaining wall, and it is definitely within spec of what you provided to us and what you provided earlier. At this time, I'd like to open it up to any of the other commissioners if you have any questions about this retaining wall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. When was the start date that you did this work and the completion date, please?
So I believe the pre-construction meeting was held on March 28th, 2024. So it started, I think, in April of 2024. And the wall was completed, I want to say, late summer, maybe like July or so. I don't have a specific date, but I think it was completed kind of in that time frame.
We were out there, I can't remember when our site visit was, but it was pretty much complete. You were just waiting for the grass to establish itself. The stone was already there, and the entire wall was already constructed at that time. So that was pretty much completed out in July when we were out there. Or was it June?
The other question I had was, did you have to cut down any significant trees in that area? It seemed like there was, I recall walking through some of that area, and it seemed like there was some secondary vegetation there.
I think that there, in order to build the wall itself, my recollection is that there were a few trees kind of along the fringe between the wetlands and the wall itself. I could probably find a few photos from the pre-construction meeting, but I think the majority of it was just, you know, there was a lot of Phragmites and other vegetation, the herbaceous vegetation, and then there were a couple trees that they needed to take down to be able to physically construct the wall. Let's see here.
Has the resident at 131 been satisfied with what has been?
I think it's their property, isn't it?
I believe some of it is, yeah. Yeah, there were a couple trees over there.
Was there any thought to reestablishing some vegetation in that area to use as a further, yeah, let's say just to the right of the cement that I'm looking at? In that area, is there any thought of doing some planting there?
I mean, I think the area just basically revegetated naturally. You know, the area where they did some off grading for the wall here, kind of just the wetland area just kind of took over and grew up right along the base of the wall.
I don't believe you had a plan for replanting in the area included, correct? It was all just excavation to put in the retaining wall and the grass on the top and the stone and whatnot. I don't think there was a plan for replanting anything submitted. I don't think there, in your original notice of intent, there wasn't any.
There was never any proposed plantings, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay. At this time, I would call for a motion to approve this certificate of compliance for this retaining wall at 130 Washburn Ave.
I make a motion for the certificate of compliance.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Okay, last but certainly not least, DEP file number 0610717, Hugo Rizzuto, 265 Rice Ave, construction of a single-family dwelling.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow members. I've been planning for this day since October 16th, 2016. Very glad you could share it with me. Mr. Lavalley, you're the only one left that voted on this original order of conditions. I think we've been through 4 chairmen since then, so it'd be nice to have this wrapped up. So thank you. We were out on November 23rd to do another site visit. We submitted a plan showing all the as-built features that have been occurring on the site since the summer. We had another site visit at that point. We also submitted a letter just stating that the plan is in substantial compliance with a few minor differences noted, some of which I think the Commission's already aware of, that dry wells were put in and some additional stone walkways were put in. And I think you could see that also Mr. Rizzuto, I've come to find out, is kind of a perfectionist. He didn't like the front walk look, so he removed and replaced the concrete walk. There's a few other little punch item things that he was working on. I think you probably saw when we were there, the cobblestones still needed to be put in, that type of thing. Nothing fancy. The lawn is vegetated. You could probably see, we were there on a rainy day. There's no runoff leaving the site, certainly for that.
No.
Everything's stable. The fences are in. Neighbors are happy. Mr. Rizzuto's happy. He's been able to move in. So that being said, yeah, we're here. We just want to make sure we get this, try to make sure we have everything addressed tonight. I know you're not meeting in January. The permit expires January 31st, 2025, so we'd like to not have to extend that any further. So if you have any questions that I can't answer, Mr. Rizzuto is here to answer them, but please, fire away.
I will open it up to the commissioners who may have any questions.
Just a curious observation I made one of the times daily that I go by the property. There were stones. They would look almost like eggs. They were there one day and then they were gone. and I'm just wondering where they ended up going.
Stones.
They're rounded, they were very round stones in the area.
Oh, like river rocks.
You're talking about on the sidewalk, you saw them?
Yes,
Okay. Those we put them, basically, we filled in the neighbor's wall and on the other side, just for better drainage.
okay. Go ahead.
It was basically an inch and a half washed pea stone. That's what it was.
Yeah, thank you.
Put
That's,
it all around the edge.
that's on the, yeah, you could see it on the right side,
Yeah.
right under the fence there. Any other questions? No? I mean, you've definitely gone above and beyond as far as water retention goes. Your neighbors are definitely not going to be encumbered by any water, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't know if you had a plan of putting on a gutter system on the house that connects into your stormwater. Do you have plans on the horizon, or have you not secured a contractor yet? How did that go? Because I did notice, as it was raining that day, the water was running right off onto your house, and it was destabilizing your stuff.
But the water was draining through the driveway, correct?
It was draining through the driveway for sure. I mean, there's no mistaking that that's gonna be pretty, that's robust.
That was
But
the main objective.
on the left side of your house, I just noticed, and your bed,
I'm sorry.
the gravel bed and,
On the-
mulch on the left side, on the
On the left
mulch
side,
bed.
yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely getting inundated by some water falling off your roof, but,
Yeah, we do have plans to put gutters up there. We got about 280 feet of gutters and 14 downspouts coming. The delay basically, as with all contractors.
lead time on materials.
The gutters are basically gonna be the same color as the roof, and I'm getting the excuse that it's taken longer to try to match the color. But in any case, it's my hope that before the winter here sets in, we're able to get those gutters up and the downspouts. Yeah, because I don't want the water coming off the roof and hitting the driveway. That's a very expensive driveway. The last thing I want is any water hitting it, you
No,
know, uncontrolled.
I could definitely see it might cause a little bit of a problem. That's my only concern with that. Other than that.
I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah, that's, as long as you're aware of it and it's gonna be rectified soon, I would feel comfortable issuing a certificate of compliance. I'd be curious to know the commissioner's thoughts on that as well.
I mean, from seeing the property and how beautiful the place is and what it will be when completed, and especially with the fact that you've done so much work to make sure that it doesn't encumber your neighbors, I mean, I would feel comfortable moving forward, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I was concerned about the neighbor because I actually owned that property, 261, right next door, before I sold it to my neighbors. And I know what it's like getting water in the basement, and I wanted to make sure that we mitigated that as much as possible. So in one of the photos that I gave you at the meeting that we had about the dry wells in the driveway, it showed us, we dug the entire wall of the neighbor's foundation, and we waterproofed it. We sealed it, we waterproofed, and we put this membrane so that any water that hits the wall is able to dribble down and away from the house. So that was one of my main concerns, and we did want to try to mitigate that as much as possible.
Sounds good. Any opposition from anyone in the audience? Nothing? You don't want to get up? No? Okay. Well, I think it is definitely not an eyesore. It is a very beautiful home, and thank you for doing what you did around your property to mitigate the stormwater retention.
Yeah.
And I definitely wish you the best of luck getting
Thank
those
you.
materials and installed before the winter really
Thank-
sets on us.
Thank you.
But I would call to approve this certificate of compliance for this project.
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Just one, so the final plan will have the gutters
Yes,
In it.
in it, correct?
yes.
Thank you.
I'll make another motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. So last, for a few things here, we had 55 Sagamore. This was a notice of potential violation issued. We'll definitely be following up with that. We did have some site visits on the 23rd, which everyone was here. And what is it? And then we had a couple on the 26th of November as well. 130 Washburn Ave, and then the 3 Furlong Drive. At this time, I would like to just say to our conservation agent here, thank you so much for all of your work and dedication here. She will be moving on to another opportunity, and it was an absolute pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll second that. Do we have a motion?
Certainly do, certainly do. But anything else from any of the other commissioners?
I would just want to confirm there's no meeting in January, just for posterity reasons of people that are watching this.
Yes, there is no meeting in January, and we'll be continuing in February.
So the site visits, we wouldn't have any until the end of January booked, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll get that finalized before the next meeting, and we'll have that all buttoned up. But at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to go to sleep. I mean, motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.